So whenever I'm thinking about apps advisory service, where I start pivoting and thinking about our clients is the way that we work is different. Many of us have got virtual environments, so really nothing's being stored on your computer. You're working inside of some type of shared drive. You're logging into communication tools like this, like Zoom or Teams. There's several of them out there. I know a lot of people even use Slack huddles. So those are all things that we're doing in order to collaborate with each other. Makes it super, super easy to be able to say, hey, I want to hop on and I want to troubleshoot if you're talking about a client. And clients are really comfortable with using Zoom now. Every once in a while, I'll fumble around in the first 5 minutes of a session and we'll kind of have a tech issue as we're trying to figure it out. But most of the time, people are off mute and probably have their video on, and then do like what I do. I call this wearing my upperwear. So casual down below, sweats, comfortable pants, and then professional shirts and appearance in the video. So it's a nice environment to be able to have the kind of workplace that you're able to grab lunch whenever you want to. A lot of employees are so thrilled to be able to come to work after they drop the kids off at school, or maybe they take care of parents. And so every once in a while during lunch, that's their lunch break. They go and check on family. So being able to be flexible is something that the accounting industry has had for a long time. But a lot of small businesses moved to that kind of thinking about 3 years ago. So that's been long enough that now they have embraced that move, and now they're looking for additional information, more tips. How should we work? What kind of security should we have in place? What kind of security should we have in place for our employees' computers? These are all conversations that start internally, because I think that that's a great place to start, is by experimenting yourself with what works in your own firm, and then passing on that kind of knowledge to your clients. Because same thing, you're going to learn things that work, and then you're going to learn some tricks that would help to enhance how that works, as well as what doesn't work. So, even the types of tools that you use to work with clients. Maybe like me, I used Zoom for a long time, and then I moved over to Teams. So that has all been a fun shift. All right. Exploring opportunities. So whenever I think about the world of apps and consulting with them, this is an area that, oh my gosh, we have so many new apps, and there is such a wide variety in the types of apps that are out there. Everybody's got AI built into it. Everybody's jumping on the chat GPT wagon and enhancing their apps. So it's a time period right now where it's worth looking at the apps that you've been using. Maybe you've been using those apps for years, but now they're incorporating some new features that could actually help you or help your clients. So it's time to really evaluate what your current stack is. Is it cutting edge? Do they have a roadmap of things that are coming out soon? Maybe you want to talk to them about security. What is their protocol for storing information? How is it stored? Those are the types of things whenever I'm thinking about apps, I want to vet them. I want to explore those opportunities. I want to think about how can I share this app maybe with a client? So would it be training them, implementing that app? Maybe it's going to be back office, so it's going to be internally we're going to deploy that app. So I need to think about how am I going to fit that new deployment into a timeline that's going to work for our firm. So there's definitely a lot going on right now that's going to affect the way that we work with our clients and the way that we interact with technology. All right, so Businesses of all kinds are looking for apps. One of the things that surprises me is whenever I look at my clients' QuickBooks files and just randomly go through what apps are connected, and they're connecting apps without me. And that's the kind of thing that I want to stay ahead of. I want to make sure that I'm listening to what kinds of problems there are. So every once in a while, checking in with the clients and saying, how is it going? If you're using an app for calendar invites, what's your current situation? Maybe you can help them. Maybe they're wanting to make sure that their professional calendar is syncing with their personal calendars. Well, that's something that you can do in Acuity and then also in Calendly. I'm a Calendly user, so maybe you want to do something like set up where people are going to pay for appointments. These are things that you can incorporate in your firm, but then clients are also asking for these types of apps as well. They want to be able to have help with scheduling. They need help with invoicing. Maybe they have some type of complex AR scenario. And so they need a app that's going to be robust enough to maybe even handle some CRM tasks. So those are the kinds of things that I want to check in with my clients. And I want to just see, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Even talk about the apps that they do have that are connected. Are they meeting the needs that they have? Those are all valid questions. And I would say that your existing clients and even new clients, these are kinds of conversations that you want to explore with them. So apps advisory services, what this means is there's technology out there that our clients are finding, and they're connecting it to their environments. So whether that's QuickBooks or it's their laptops or their phones, and it's not always the recommended apps. Maybe as an accounting professional, you would say, this is the app that I'm hearing the best information about. And that would be the app that you would recommend to the client. So those are the ways that you can help to guide your clients into being able to know what is a good app. One of the things I do often is I look at some of the Facebook groups. There's some really great ones out there that talk about apps, and we share our experience. What are some of the shortcomings of that app? Because that's really important. Sometimes it's okay because there's a workaround. The rest of the app is brilliant, and so you don't want to go in a different direction, but it's nice to be aware of where that app might have a shortcoming. The world of QuickBooks apps. There are now over 750 apps. That's a lot of apps. So when it comes to going to apps.com and you're looking at that database, just think about, there is over 750 apps that are in that database now. That is overwhelming to a client. It's overwhelming even to us, and it's something that constantly takes some attention. And that's why those groups to be plugged into are really important. Asking your peers in your community for what kind of apps they're using and in particular scenarios. I'm looking at this group of apps right here. I see Expensify and Dex. You might want to ask a buddy, hey, which one of these do you use and why? Have you used the other one? And did you quit using it? Why? Those are the kinds of questions that whenever you're part of a community are safe to ask, and you're going to have more experience and knowledge base of people to pull from than these clients, because that's not the area that they focus. The reason why accountants are taking on this role of apps advisory is because we're the ones who are managing the QuickBooks files. We're the ones who are wanting to maintain the integrity of the accounting. So that means we want to really pay attention to, what are we connecting? How is it working? Is it working as expected? And monitor it. So that's where it comes into this project. So maybe you want to do a one-time project and you're going to be paid for that project, or it's something that you're going to be doing ongoing. And so that turns into reoccurring revenue. So here is an app stack. App stacks is a term that many are using, and it just means the group of apps that you're using in order to power your business. They do not have to talk to each other. This is not a requirement in an app stack. If you do want to have an app stack that does communicate, I would make sure that you understand the flow of information. Where is it going to? How is it getting there? Maybe in the case of Bill, maybe you've got some type of fetching app that's going to gather those bills, and maybe that's what's going to be connected to your bill, formerly bill.com. And whenever those apps are imported into Bill, then they actually then are pushed over to QuickBooks. So that would be an example of a connected stack. Some people have got their email connected to QuickBooks, others don't. Kind of depends on, I know that there's a really cool Gmail integration for those who are using Google Calendar and they want to be able to invoice. You can actually take those scheduled events and make them visible inside of QuickBooks, so that way you could see who did you meet with, what did you meet about, what was the time frame, and then you can invoice off of it. So app stacking just means what's the tech that your firm or your client's company is using in order to empower that business. So apps to create a solution. So the next thing I want to do is kind of move over into this mindset of helping a client. So we're going to be thinking about, as a firm who is offering apps advisory, what are the types of scenarios that we might run into? So why you might want an app is because QuickBooks Online has got those top bullets covered, but maybe somebody really wants to pull in an app for manufacturing. There is no such ability in QuickBooks Online alone to do any type of manufacturing. Sales emails, analytics, that's another one where there's a lot of robust reporting apps out there. I see a lot of people who want to have dashboards. They want to have interactive click areas to be able to find additional information, dig down. There's apps that are going to review your QuickBooks files. So that would be another one that would be firm based, but inventory, apps for payroll. So all of those might be apps that you would want to add on, because QuickBooks alone is a strong solution. But whenever you have a more robust need in a particular area, that's whenever you bring on an app. And when I'm listening to my clients, they know oftentimes what's available in QuickBooks and whether or not it's meeting their needs, and they're able to tell me why they need something more. So when you're thinking about your clients, streamlined workflows, that is one of the #1 reasons that I hear from somebody who wants to connect an app. The human errors, there is so much OCR ability out there that cuts down on the need to hand enter bill information. That's one of those areas that there's a lot of really cool apps out there. I think it's called Easy Bill. That's a super, super awesome app for anybody who receives a whole lot of bills and they don't want to hand enter it. They do a phenomenal job of being able to look at the bill, scrape off the data that's on there, and then present it in a way that is going to push over into QuickBooks. They are not a full service AP solution, so only their job is to read those bills. It's extraordinarily low cost. So if you're looking for something to help a client right away, that is a good one. Human errors, that's that piece where people they make mistakes. If it's going to affect the business because you added or subtracted a zero, that's a big mistake. And so needing to have some quality controls is one of the reasons to use an app. The increased productivity, I think it's important to cross-train on jobs. I think that it's difficult to cross-train whenever you don't have a documented approach. If nobody in the team knows how to do it except for the one person who stores it in their head, that is not going to help productivity if that person leaves, if that person gets ill, if that person goes on vacation. So that's why it's important to document, to cross-train, and then whenever I'm thinking about increased productivity, apps can help to move along tasks. So if I think about in our world, bank feeds inside of QuickBooks Online has changed the way that we enter transactions. There's still the need for clients who have invoicing and receive payments and bills and bill payments, but even those can be matched inside of the bank feeds. So it's a whole lot easier to be able to look at an account balance inside of QuickBooks and rely on that number because you're getting daily information. So the profitability, that's one of those that if you're more productive, if you're able to offer a more reliable service, then I would say that your productivity is going to go way up. If it's a scenario where you're pulling in an app that is going to answer phones, there's a lot of services out there that do that. It used to be all individual based, but there are apps that can do that. And that's going to be a way to make sure that even in out of office hours, that somebody is listening to those calls that are coming in. So providing apps advisory, how can it help your team? This is where I think about the efficiency in the firm and the skill set in the firm. I like to be able to test apps. And that means I have to have a team who's willing and trusts me to go along with the deployment of that app. And sometimes the discontinuation of that app. But every single time that we implement an app, that is a skill that our team members are learning. They're learning new tech. They're learning new ways. Sometimes whenever you think about a problem from multiple different perspectives, you're able to even think outside the box of maybe that app, and it tells you, this is the workflow that we use, and that app has a different workflow. So let's go find an app that fits our workflow. And then you can start to explore apps that maybe have a synchronized order to the way that you work in your firm. And building the partnerships, I can say if you are somebody who's been working with app developers, they love to hear your input. They want to hear it. They know that the accountants and bookkeepers are the ones who are working with the clients and hearing the feedback. They're the ones working in the books. They're seeing the results. And so they're open ears whenever we come to them and we tell them what's working, what we're needing, what our clients are needing. And that builds a relationship. Some of the apps that I work with have got partner programs. Once you learn an app, they start to send over new clients to you. That happened just yesterday. I worked with an app 5 years ago. And yesterday they reached out and they said, we've got a client for you. And it was a great client. So it was an opportunity based on a relationship with an app developer years ago. So those are the kinds of opportunities that do happen whenever you're reaching out to these different developers. So the types of revenue that you can receive in your firm, I think about the project pricing. So anytime that you're going to be implementing a new app, that's going to have a fee associated with it. I'm going to share some of the steps that we use in order to recommend apps and deploy apps, so that way you kind of have an idea of the steps that we take. But each phase that we're going to go through has resources tied to it. So my team, myself, we're going to be busy trying to figure out a solution for that client. And that's going to take us away from other activity. There should be some compensation for that. One of the things that I really liked about the proposal app Ignition is they have got templates built into it. And I felt really uncomfortable the first couple of times whenever I was invoicing for apps advisory services. What made me feel braver was looking at Ignition's templates and seeing some of the prices that they had put next to these types of services that we provide. And I think at the time it had, anytime that you're implementing a new app, and it was basic level apps, $500. $500 is a pretty good chunk of change whenever you're thinking about maybe it's an app that you want to implement across all your clients. It's like, this is a really great solution. I want to teach all of my clients how to utilize it. So, you can think about the revenue that would come in with that type of work. The other thing is training and support. Our firm specializes in training. It's something that I enjoy looking at processes. I enjoy breaking it down so I can understand the parts and the pieces. And that's the way that I learn. And then once I learn it, I want to be able to take those parts and pieces and I want to be able to document it and share it. So that's the type of training that a lot of clients are looking for. Maybe they know that this is a really great app, but they're having a hard time with change management with their team. So they need somebody to help them move along that change management so that way they're successful with that app. A lot of times whenever I see a fail in an app, it's because they were never able to move forward. So that's a huge part of apps advisory, is being able to manage that deployment, keep it moving forward, whether it's you who's going to be training that team or your role is just to help the camaraderie of that team moving forward. That is an area that a lot of people don't have the additional time to invest. So as somebody who enjoys doing app advisory services, that's something that we know is built into our pricing. So we might have a project price that's going to include researching for that app. It's going to include implementing that app. And then we would also offer training and support. So with training, we would create a custom price. So it would be in addition to, in that case, a $500 implementing of an app is different than the training of that app. So there would be some additional team members that we might need to meet with. Maybe there's some field workers, maybe there's office workers, different departments in the office that are going to be interacting with that app. Those are the kinds of scenarios that we would want to make sure that all of the various people who are going to be interacting with that app have got training. And then the commissions and the preferred prices, that comes back to having those app relationships. There's a lot of support that can be offered in apps. And this is where the reoccurring dollars come in. When you implement apps, most of the time, there's going to be a need for some maintenance. Whether that means you're working with an inventory app, an e-commerce app, you want to be able to sync the data over into QuickBooks, so you're using something like A2X. Bookkeeping does a really nice job. There's several really good apps that act as that middleware to take all of that Shopify e-commerce activity or point of sale activity and then implementing that into QuickBooks. Those are going to be the types of apps that those need continual monitoring. There is something that needs to be done typically every month. The majority of the work is all done for us, but there might be something that happens where it's a penny off because there's a sales tax change, or there's a return and it was done in a way that team members don't normally do it. So, those are the kinds of things where it requires a human to be there to help keep the business moving forward, keep the data inside of QuickBooks up to date.